Anytime a soldier was killed in Iraq or Afghanistan, the Army assigned a general officer to preside over their funeral. And when I became a general officer, I did 5 funerals. And it was something that you hated to do, but it was also something you were honored to do, to pay final respects to a young man or woman who'd paid the ultimate sacrifice for our country. And I was the deputy commander for a guy by the name of Dave Petraeus. And I got a phone call from the General Officer Management Office, and they said, "General, a young lieutenant was just killed in Karbala, Iraq, and we need a general officer to preside over his funeral. Would you be willing to do it?" So of course I said, absolutely, I'd be honored to do it. Now when you sign up to do this solemn duty, they send you a packet. And in that packet is the information on the person whose funeral you're going to preside over. He was a West Point graduate. Had graduated West Point, got commissioned as a field artillery officer. I'm a field artillery officer. 3 months after he got to his unit, they were deployed to Iraq. And within a month of arriving in Iraq, he was killed in action. His middle brother was a junior at West Point at the time. And his youngest brother was in junior high, and all he wanted to do was go to West Point like his older brothers and be an Army officer. The family was from a place called Verdun, Nebraska. Small farming community in the heartland of America, Verdun, Nebraska. So I get all the information on when this young man's funeral is going to be, and I head out for Verdun, Nebraska. And it's January. And if you've ever been to Nebraska in January, it's cold. This ain't nothing compared to Verdun, Nebraska in January. So I pull into this little farming community, and there's snow on the ground. It's about 8 degrees outside, bitter cold. In the center of this little community is a civic center, and where they have events there, that's where they're going to hold the memorial service. So I walk into this civic center, and there are 1,500 people in there to honor this young man. So I get there, and I'm waiting, and here comes the family out. And that's when it hit me, because Mom and Dad were my age. And it hit me hard at that moment because at the time I was the father of 2 soldiers, one of whom was deployed. And as I'm watching this family come out, all I'm thinking is, I just can't imagine what this family's going through at this moment, to have lost their oldest son like this. So I walk up there, and I try to say some words that I think might be meaningful, knowing that I'm failing. And I got to tell you, the hardest part for me was to hand that mother a gold star. And those of you that are veterans know what a gold star represents and how important that is. Because a gold star means you've lost your son or daughter in war. No parent wants to be a gold star parent. And I had to hand that mother that gold star. And I got to tell you, it was one of the toughest things I've ever done in my entire life. So I slip out the side door, get into my sedan, which thankfully was heated, and we head out to the gravesite, which is about 2.5 miles down the road. We take off down this road. All along the side of the road, on both sides of the road, are men, women, and children holding American flags. And I got to admit, I got choked up, and I looked at my driver and I said, you know, you won't see this in the 5 o'clock news, but you should, because this is our country. This is what makes our country great, that no matter what your political affiliation, you're still willing to come out here under these terrible conditions to honor this young man who died in service to our nation. I get out to the gravesite. They've got an honor guard there from the 82nd Airborne Division, headed up by an Army Master Sergeant, Strat group of young men. I go up, I meet all of them, you know, and I'm wearing my overcoat because it's cold. None of these guys is wearing an overcoat. They're all in their Class A uniform, but no overcoat. So I saw that, and I was shamed into taking off my overcoat to join these guys, because I wasn't going to let them stand there like that without me joining them. And then we wait to see how many of these people are going to come out to pay final respects at the gravesite. Doesn't take long, and 1,500 people showed up at the gravesite. They all came out there in those bitter conditions to honor that young man. They pull the hearse up, they take the casket, that flag draped casket out, they put it up there on the pedestal there where the gravesite is, and we begin final military honors. They do the 21-gun salute. The bugler plays taps. The honor guard takes that American flag off that young man's coffin. They fold it. They hand it to that master sergeant, and that master sergeant in turn hands that flag to me. And my last official function is I've got to hand that flag to that mother. Now, usually when you do that, you say something along the lines of, on behalf of the President of the United States and a grateful nation, I present this flag to you in thanks for your son's faithful service to our country, something along those lines. I didn't do that. I got on my knee in front of that mother. I handed her that flag, and I said, ma'am, I know there's nothing I can say that can assuage the loss you must feel right now. But I hope you know how grateful we are as a nation for the sacrifice that you and your family have made for all of us. And that when you see this flag, you'll remember what a fine young man you raised and how this country is indebted to him for his sacrifice for all of us. And that mother, at that moment, a moment that as a father I couldn't even imagine, looked at me and said, General, thank you and all of our soldiers for what you do for our country every day. And don't you worry, I'm going to keep sending you my sons. Well, rule number one is generals don't cry. And I know there's a few generals in the room, but that's rule number one. It's in the book. You know, you just can't do that. Well, I had a bad case of allergies that day. I had to get up and walk away because I didn't want that mother to see the tears that were rolling down my cheeks. And those words haunted me for years. Fast forward to about 8 years ago, and I'm now here at Texas A&M University as the Commandant of Cadets, and I'm welcoming all the cadets as they're coming in and shaking hands and talking to all these young men and women as they're getting ready to join the Corps. And up walks this big strapping young man. I said, how you doing there, young man? He goes, I'm doing great, sir. I said, what's your name? He tells me his name. I said, where are you from? He said, sir, I'm from Verdun, Nebraska. And I looked at him. I said, where'd you say you were from? He said, sir, I'm from Verdun, Nebraska. And I was about to ask him his name again when I looked to his right. There's that mother. Bad case of allergies that day too. I mean, that mother and I hugged each other. We cried right there in the Corps Center. And when I finally regained my composure, I looked at her and I said, why are you here? She said, General, I never forgot what you said that day and how much it meant to my family and to me. And when I found out you were here, I wanted my son to come down here to be a part of what this university has to offer. The leaders that this university produces, I want my son to be one of them. Well, I looked at him and I said, let me tell you something, young man. If we bring in 800 freshmen and 799 of them quit, you ain't going to be one of them. I said, I will chase you to Verdun, Nebraska and drag your ass back down here so fast. Well, he looked at me and he said, sir, I'm not going to quit. I promise you, I'm not going to quit. And he didn't. He didn't. He graduated 4 years later, commissioned into the Army as a field artillery officer like his oldest brother. I had the honor of going up to Fort Sill, Oklahoma, where my military career had begun back when Tyrannosaurus Rex was walking the earth, and got a chance to be there when he graduated. And my wife and I had the honor of going to Fort Hood, Texas, to Abrams Field House to welcome him home from his deployment to Iraq. That mother sent all 3 of her sons to war. The oldest one did not come back alive. The other 2 did, and both of them are still serving to this day. And while that young man was in the Corps, that woman was an invited guest of mine to at least one football game every season. I showed her what real football was all about. I showed her what real Mexican food was all about. And more importantly, I showed her what real margaritas were all about. And when he graduated, we had a party at the house for him, just a small gathering of friends and family. And we're in the middle of the party, and she walks up to me. She goes, General, do you mind if we step outside? I've got something I want to give you. I said, okay. So we walk outside, and she's got a box in her hands. And she said, General, I've been holding on to this box for years. And I was waiting for the right moment to give this to you, and I think now's the time. So she hands me this box, and I open the box, and in it is a framed picture of me on my knee handing her that flag. Never knew anybody had taken that picture. But somebody obviously had. She had it blown up and framed, and just a beautiful picture. That picture sits on my desk to this day. And I look at it every single day. because it reminds me of two things. First, it reminds me that freedom isn't free. Freedom is expensive. It costs. And those that pay the highest price are among our best and our brightest. And the second thing it reminds me is we can never forget those who serve and sacrifice every day for this great country that we live in, for the rights that we enjoy every single day. We must never forget. And one of the reasons why I take great pride in the Don and Ellie Naus Veterans Resource Centers, because Jerry Smith and his entire team don't forget our student veterans. Those of you who have provided the scholarships for these young men and women have not forgotten our veterans. And that is what this great country is all about, taking care of those who have served us so well and so faithfully.